Hello, my name is Jimmy Vegas and welcome to this, the 17th in a series of video tutorials for Unity 5. So in this episode we are going to be speeding things up a little now. We've learnt enough now to pretty much input and do things quite hastily within our scene and create. So this episode we're going to get some stuff from the asset store to kind of customize our world a little more, and we're also going to start developing in a new scene for our title menu. So first off, what I'm going to do is all these trees we have is created in something called speed tree, which is something within Unity itself, which can cause a few problems when you start to try and build your scene. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quite simply delete every tree out my scene, and they will be replaced with something far superior and much easier to put down. They're already there to show you that you can do that. At the same time, I'm going to go to my standard assets. I'm going to go to environment and speed tree, and I'm going to quite simply delete that entire asset. We don't want speed tree within this scene. It may cause problems in the future. So on top of that, to put our trees back in and make them look more like trees, much nicer trees, place them more easily, go to Window and go to Asset Store. And you can also get there by holding Control and pressing number 9 on your keyboard. So the Asset Store is this. Most of you will probably have already seen the Asset Store and know what it's all about. To cover it pretty quickly, it's just a place that you can go and search for all sorts of assets to use within your project. Some things are free, some things are paid for. Just be careful what you're selecting and what you want to do with them. If you don't already have an account, create one. And if you're not logged in, log in. In the search bar, I'm just going to type in terrain assets. I'll do a quick search, and then hopefully, once it's found a couple of results, this first one will more than likely be the one that pops up. It's developed by Unity Technologies themselves, so it's an official asset. If we click on terrain assets, and this button right here will either say download or import, depending on if you've already done it or not. So click on this button just here and it will download, or if it says import, it will import the asset. Once that's done, you will have hopefully something called terrain assets right here. And as you can see, it's a list of a few different things which you can use for your terrain. Now previously when we put speed tree in, we just had to put one tree in at a time. You could effectively do what we're going to do now with speed tree, but you get so many different types of trees, as you can see right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to choose, let's just have this alder tree for now. So I'm going to put that in. I'm going to add component, and I'm going to go to physics, and it's up to you which collider you choose, whether it's a mesh, capsule, box, whichever, as long as you select a decent collider. I like box colliders quite a lot. I find them quite useful because I always know how to manipulate them to be what I want them to be. But if you feel more comfortable with a mesh collider, then I would suggest a mesh collider. All I want to do with this is I want to position it dead center, and I want to change the size so as it covers the trunk of the tree right there. So I'm going to change that to 5 and bring it up a little to, I think that should be all right. So now hopefully, in fact, let me bring my character controller over here because I'll be dealing a lot more over this side. I intend to build a kind of little forest thing here before we go any further. So I'm going to press play now, and once it's loaded, with any luck, I should be able to go over to the tree and not walk through it, which is exactly what I want. Okay, next thing to do is we have our alder tree there. I'm going to rename, let's see, rename, what should I call it? I'm just going to simply call it tree 001, just to keep things pretty simple. And what we need to do now is we need to create our own prefab with this because we have added a box collider. I'm going to go to objects down here, and in fact I already have a tree alder folder there. So if you don't have tree alder, just go in there. Let's get rid of that because we don't need it because we already have one there. So tree alder in your objects folder. Great thing is drag and drop this straight in and you'll have a prefab of this tree with the collider on it. So you see down here, tree 001.prefab. Now all a prefab is basically what we bring into Unity. Say for example, if it's a collection of objects under one game object, you can you can bring this down into your asset window and that would be a prefab. We'll be dealing more with prefabs in the near future. So for now, I'm going to get rid of tree 001 there. That can go because we now have a nice prefab here. And I'd like to create a nice little forest over here. So on the terrain, we're going to use this tool right here, which is called Place Trees. And as you'll probably guess, yes, it places trees. So edit tree and add tree. And then drag and drop this prefab onto there. Don't worry about the bend factor at the moment. We'll leave it at 0 for now. And click on add. And you'll see that appears there. I'm not going to play with too many settings because, well, there's no real need to at the moment. I'm going to change the brush size to 15, so it's a fairly small one. I'll zoom out a little. And I change the tree density to 70. And then, quite simply, click. It doesn't quite like that. Okay, let's change the brush size higher. Oh, too much. Okay, so brush size, let's put that as 45. And let's just click and create this little forest there. So as you can see, the great thing about this is you don't have to do too much. Just click where you want a forest and it develops a forest. Edit tree, add tree. You can put other ones on there from your terrain assets. However, they don't have the box colliders or mesh colliders on them at the moment. So if you wanted, for example, I don't know, mimosa tree, you would do the same sort of thing as what we did with the alder tree. Just make sure you have a collider on it, add tree, and hopefully you would have yourself a forest. And with any luck, we shouldn't be able to walk through our trees, and we can't. And that is just grand. Okay, so now we have a couple of assets around. We have a little forest going on. What we'll do next is, I'll tell you what, before we move on to our next scene, which is the the title menu, we're just going to do something awfully similar again. Let's have edit trees, let's add tree, and let's just take, let's have a look, bushes. In fact, no, I'm going to use this banana plant there and just drag and drop there, add, and I'm going to do brush size as 100, density is 40, in fact no, 100 is too big I think, 62, and I'm just going to click once, twice, 3 times, and hopefully on the ground now we should have a little more to the ground, I hope. Looks a bit small, but that's not to worry. We could possibly increase the scale factor. Let's have 1 maybe. Will it make much of a difference? Probably not. Okay, let's keep it at 0.01. We can get back to that another time. It's just a case of applying more bits and bobs to your terrain. So I want to save that scene right now. Okay, the next bit is where I am going to get speedy. You can take as much time as you need to. The only reason I'm going to be speedy is because of time limitations on the tutorial. So go to File and go to New Scene. And everything we've created appears to have now disappeared. In actual fact, it hasn't. It's still in this little file here. So what we're going to do is hold Control, press S to save, or file and save, whichever. And I'm going to call this title screen and save. So now you'll see you have two .unity files here. One is area 001, the other is title screen. Now, as I say, this bit is going to be speedy, and all I'm going to do is create a terrain. So 3D object and terrain. And I'm going to do the same sort of thing as I did in the other scene. We need to paint it. So edit textures, add texture, not select, let's go to the textures folder, and let's take my grass 001 I'm going to use. So if you remember rightly, drag and drop them, add, it paints that nicely. Let's change the settings just here. Let's see, blend probes off maybe, and custom on that one. Okay, that'll do just for now. Next thing I want to do is I want this title screen to be animated. So I'm going to create something which appears fairly nice. So I'm going to raise the terrain. Let's set that to 100. Let's see how that looks. Okay, that's fine. And now I'm going to create a smaller area. And about there. Now maybe a bit larger maybe. Yes, okay. And I'm going to hold shift because I want to decrease there. And now I want to raise it again. So I'm going to decrease that a little to maybe 60, no, about 50, I think. And I'm going to raise it in the center. That's a bit too much, but that'll do. Now I'm going to make this watery. So somewhere in your standard assets, you should have water in the environment section. So I'm going to take water. Let's go prefabs. I'm going to take this one, Water Pro Nighttime. I'm going to put it right there. Change the scale to, let's say, what size do you think we'd need? I think about 40 by 40. And now I'm going to arrange it nicely. About there should do just fine. Zoom in now. And I'm going to make this scene basically a tree here with a camera rotating around it to give it the effect of animation. So let's pick a tree, terrain assets, trees, and let's pick a banyan tree. It is quite small, as you can see, so quite simply let's change this 100 by 100 by 100. So I have kind of a nice big tree as a center focal point. And I'm going to add a couple of things around it. Those banana plants again, if you remember. I'm going to add a couple of those. That should do. Let's add some. How about we add some grass to our terrain? Let's go to this tool here, which is paint details. Let's edit details, add grass texture, and I'm just going to take this grass one and put it there. So if you drag and drop, this grass texture, by the way, is in terrain assets and grass, and it goes into detailed texture. I'm not going to change any of these other numbers or colors or anything for now. I'm just going to click add, and oops, it's a bit much there. Let's reduce our brush size a little. And hopefully you should be able to see we now have some grass appearing, but it's just a bit too much for me. So I'm going to take this down to 10. And it'll do like that. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create some kind of mountains just quickly around. Nice and simple as always. Brushes, edit texture, add texture. Let's go to our textures and let's bring in dirt 003 and add. And let's raise the terrain. Let's take this one. Oops. In fact, that's a bit too much. Not quite happy with that one. Perhaps we need this one, brush size 45. In fact, no, that's still not good because I want them kind of spiky-ish. Okay, that's starting to look a little better. All this may seem a bit strange at the moment, but by the end of the next episode, trust me, it will all make perfect sense. I'm just quickly doing all this now. You take as much time as you need. As I say, I'm only doing this quickly because of time restrictions on the tutorial itself. I don't want to waste too much time. So once you're done doing this, remember you don't have to do the exact same. You can always do something slightly different, whichever way you want to do it. Okay, so I think that's enough for now. I'm going to quickly paint over some of this grass texture on the mountain side of it. I'm not going to take too much time now. Nearly there. You can always skip ahead in the video if you want to. It's no big deal at the moment. Okay, so let's quickly repaint center. Okay, that'll do for now. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a game object, 3D object, and cube. And I'm not going to change the scale. All I'm going to do is I'm going to drag the main camera onto this cube and then drag that main cube onto the banyan tree. And then zero out the axis on its position. Now the camera also zero out the axis on the cube. And now we just need to arrange this camera in a position which we feel happy with. So I want it looking at the tree as it's going around. So let's put it about there. Let's bring it up a touch, out a bit more, and let's rotate it by 15 degrees onto the tree. Okay, so I'm quite happy with that. So when we press play, with any luck, we should see our grass animating just there and the water animating right there. Now, to make things just that little bit extra nice, just before we finish this tutorial up, if we head back into the asset store, there, so remember you can go to there or Control 9. Let's search for a Skybox. So, classic Skybox. And once again, the first one should be this one here, Classic Skybox. If you click on it and then download or import to bring it into your project, you should hopefully end up with Classic Skybox folder just here. Now a Skybox basically changes all this in the sky, the blue, to a sky. And to do that is really simple. So if we go to Window and Lighting, Skybox, click the little button next to it, locate the Skybox, and pick one. I'm going to choose quite simply Sky 01 because I want it to have that kind of nighttime-ish kind of look and feel to it. So I'm going to move the camera in slightly and press play. So now our scene is starting to look a little like something. This will be our title screen. So we'll have our logo up here and we'll have our play, quit, credits, buttons, whatever, just here. So in the next episode, we're going to write a script which will animate our camera around our tree to give it the effect of animation without actually using this animation tab here. And we'll be writing a script where we can change our scene to the next scene to play our game. There are a few bugs along the way which have been around in Unity for quite a while, but they're nothing too damaging to our game. Only while we're developing, it can be a little bit of a pain, but it's not a big deal when we build our standalone product. So we'll leave that episode there for now. Last thing to do is save your scene. Yes, so that's it for this episode. You build up your title menu how you would like it, whether you want some shrubbery, whether you want something else rather than tree or anything like that. But the general feel of what we're going to do is have the camera rotate around this tree in the next episode. That will be the effect of animation. So until then, thank you very much for watching. Check out my other tutorials. There's tons of material on there. Head over to the website for free assets and yeah, check us out and see what you like. Let us know in the comments if you'd like to see anything particular in future tutorials, and we'll get back to you. Once again, thank you very much for watching.